what were your first ideas of mental health problems, which then led to the starting of United We Care?
I'm a mental health patient myself. I have suffered from mental health quite firsthand. And my co-founder, Ritu, she is a cancer survivor. The definition of health is physical health, mental health, and social health.
Correct.
If you have a social health which is broken, you cannot have a good mental health. We are having a generation, or probably at the tip of the generation, that most of the people are going to die from lifestyle mental health conditions.
How bad is the situation where it can actually cause mental health problems in a child?
We are talking about a generation when kids are being brought up by the devices, not by the parents. First of all, short form content, because we are training that child not to focus. Really thankful to Government of India to actually ban TikTok. Now we have to do a lot more in terms of AI and other social medias which are there. Otherwise, we are talking about a zombie future.
How do you ensure the accuracy that is needed for such wide linguistic diversity that is there in Bharat?
Right now, we support 29 languages. So there is a medicine by name Cutie Pine, and Google always translates it as Cutie Pine.
Deepika Padukone's organization Live, Love, Laugh, is there a real impact, or it is mostly just conversations happening in tier 1 cities' coffee tables?
See, the thing is,
Today's guest was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but eventually emerged stronger. He turned his personal struggles into a mission to change other people's lives. Sourav Banerjee is the co-founder and CTO of United We Care, and his platform is breaking barriers by offering accessible mental health support at just 150 rupees per hour, ensuring that help is available to everybody who needs it. This is a story of resilience, purpose, and a vision to democratize mental wellness. Welcome to the hot seat. Brace yourself.
Sourabh, welcome to the hot seat by A Media House. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How about you?
Lovely, lovely. We are shooting this first episode in 2025. So great start to the new year with you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you too. Sourabh, you have played so many roles in your career.
Yeah.
You call yourself an entrepreneur, a data scientist, a technologist, a political strategist. Which one of these roles do you enjoy the most?
Data science.
Why is that?
See, the thing is, the rigor, the research that I do for data science. The rest of the other two, which is being entrepreneur or being the political strategist, was just an outcome of it. So it's not the foundation of it. Foundation has been data science.
Okay. The foundation has led to a company, a firm, a team that is quite literally doing some very, very path-breaking work. I want to ask you, for those who don't know, tell us what is United We Care and what is it that you all do?
Okay. So we are into, see, this is an abused word, deep tech or AI research, but at the cost of being repetitive, yes, we are a deep tech AI research company in mental health domain. So in mental health, we can see it in two sides. One is for the users. Another part is for the clinicians. But just take it like a Uber drive. You have one side of the application, the drivers will have other side of the application, and then the drive is possible. The same way, we have a user side application, we have a clinician side application, and we want to solve it. For user side, we have major 4 things, which is screening at bulk. Given screening at the population, some people will require clinical management, so we provide clinical management. Then we have follow-up and relapse management, and finally, it's the self-management, which is more repetitive part. So the entire thing is being governed by AI. For clinicians, we provide, note intake, summary, and things like that. Yeah, that's what we do in United We Care.
I want to ask you, how did this initiative start? I mean, what were your thoughts? What were your first ideas of mental health problems, which then led to the starting of United We Care?
See, for me, mental health is a living reality. I'm a mental health patient myself. So I have...
Really?
Yeah, correct. I have suffered from mental health quite firsthand. So that was my story. And my co-founder, Ritu, she is a cancer survivor.
Wow.
I mean, we both had our own journey. I mean, like we did fairly good. Like she was the head of booking APAC region, and before that, she was senior vice president of Zomato. I also worked with Professor Abhijit Banerjee, Stratoflow, and JPAL. Currently, we are working with JPAL all over again, MIT. So yes, worked a lot. But then when my mental health journey came, or Ritu's cancer, and then when you go through that cancer, you have the mental health journey yourself. So it's a personal reality. Second thing is, I can talk about, say, Agnes Dayton, deaths of despair. We are having a generation, or probably at the tip of the generation, that most of the people are going to die from lifestyle mental health conditions, most of us. And we are not talking about that. Third thing, as a society, as a economy, we are not equipped enough to have enough number of clinicians. We just don't have it. So there's a massive problem that we have faced. And then the solution is so limited that there is a major difference between the supply and the demand. AI is probably the only way to solve it. Also, remember that mental health per se is statistical. I mean, the global standard for mental health is called Diagnostic and Statistical Manual 5th Generation Text Revision. Because mental health is statistical, it is the statistical tool that can solve this problem. And if not us, someone has to solve it.
So Sourav, if you're comfortable with this question, I want to ask you about the mental health problem journey that you went through. Mm-hmm. So at what point of time did you realize that you're suffering from something? Did you identify that this is a mental health problem? Mm-hmm. And then how did you fight that?
Okay, so there are 2-3 things. I had a mental health. Mental health is a complex thing. You might have it in your family. So it's a combination of both nature and nurture. So you might have it in your gene. Then look out for that. So if your direct predictors of your blood relationships, like your mother, your father, or grandfather, grandmother, they had known mental health issues, be careful. Like, there's a very strong chance that you might have it. That's the first thing. Second thing is, not everything is nature. Then comes the nurture part, like how your childhood experiences happened. I had a lot of childhood trauma, and I was being bullied as a kid. Like I told you, like Makuda, government Bengali medium school. Like I could not even speak Hindi or English, nothing. So I used to come to Bangalore and hear a lot of people. At those ages, I was being bullied. It's a very slow, gradual process, and then suddenly, with everything, you become extremely tough. Nothing, you just don't get emotion or the emotional drive. You become extremely dry. And then one fine morning, you understand that you are not able to get up. You are not able to do your regular activities. You just don't feel like doing it. Like, the things that you used to love doing before, you do not feel interested doing them any further. Or all of a sudden, I realized that I'm not reading at all. I love reading. I used to stupid poetries, but I used to write poetries as well. I stopped writing poems. I stopped remembering everything. So these all are the gradual.
Which age was this?
Now I'm talking about like 30, 32. That age, everything started falling down.
So this was happening to you when you were 32 years old?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do to seek help?
See, I used to work for Cadavums. Like, I used to head their corporate strategy, and Cadavums is the largest private sector mental health provider in India. So, I was into the mental health domain. So I had those services. But when I was going through that, first of all, it took me a lot of time to first identify these all are the predators. Finally, it was auditory hallucination, visual hallucination. Like, I lost one of my sisters, so I could see her, and then quite literally, I was I was in a room for almost 6 months. I could not come out of that room. It was a painful journey for me. And then there were multiple medicines. So initially, even the treatments are not that, just give this pill and things are over. No, you get into one regime of treatment, you see if that is working or not, then you change the regime from SSRI to SNRI class of antidepressants. Then they added mood stabilizer when they understood that there's a bipolar, then antipsychotics, and with all the medicines put together, then the side effects of that.
You mentioned most of the population might die from either lifestyle causes or mental health problems.
Yes.
Can you list maybe a couple of them from both these categories?
Can I ask a question back?
Sure.
How many or what percentage of OPD visits are related to stress? What do you think?
I won't be able to give a number on that. I don't think so, but
It's upward of 80%.
upward of 80%.
Yes. Now let's get to the causation. We tell, okay, the person is going to the OPD for cardiovascular conditions. Do you really think cardiovascular conditions for 40-year-old happens because of heart, really? Or a host of cancers, they just happen because of the fact that the cancer has happened? We have so much of population, like, the data is about 14-15% of young adults, they are having suicide ideations. 14-15%, which is 1 in 6 or 7, they're having suicide ideations. Diabetes, type 2 diabetes, why does it happen? Is it not lifestyle? So basically, lifestyle stress, uncontrolled stress, when it goes unchecked for amount of time, then they cause things like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular conditions, PCOS in women, and then they become the predictor of next set of conditions. Obesity, one more thing. So no, it's not a very happy situation to be in.
Absolutely. Is it finally time that it is about time we have the conversation where when we categorize these two in two different categories, like one is a lifestyle problem and one is a mental health issue, but it's very connected. I mean, because of stress, you're overeating. Because of stress, you're smoking more, you're drinking more. So a huge part of it is a mental issue as well.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's the norm. That's what is happening. Like, just go and read the WHO, World Health Organization Charter. The definition of health is physical health, mental health, and social health.
Correct.
All three put together. So if you have a social health which is broken, you cannot have a good mental health. Or a physical health which is broken, you cannot have a great mental health. Like you are going through a major problem in your body, you cannot have a great mind. The same way, you do not have a great mind, you cannot either have a great social life or great physical health. You can't have that. So it's a combination of all three, I'll say. It is.
A survey in India says that 10 to 11% people in India have mental health problems. And this is not including alcohol addiction and smoking addiction. When that is included, the number rises up to 22% of the population. Is that number correct? Is the situation even worse? What's the ground status like?
Okay, now if you tell India is not a monolith, first of all. We have multiple Indias from Bharat to, the India. The number can vary anywhere between 15 to 40%. I mean, talk about stress in workplace, these offices, the employees, the stress that they go through. It was, if I'm not wrong, ASSOCHAM data, which said Indian corporates, they have employees, 40% of them, they are going through massive stress in their workplace. 15% is actually the global data on illness, 15% of the population. That's what we take it. But it is rising very, very sharp. And there's one more thing I wanted to say. 1 in 2 in our lifetime will have massive mental health condition. So while 15% is a running average for the whole population, 1 in 2 individual in their lifetime will have mental health problems, like massive, not issues, but probably disorders or illness.
There was, and this is a long time back, we are in 2025, and this survey was done 10 years back. It was the National Mental Health Survey, which was done in 2015, 2016. I know you know which one I'm talking about. And there it was found out that 75% of people do not have access to mental health services. Has that number changed? Or is it as bad a situation?
No, it's bad. See, first of all, 75% of the people who are actively seeking for help, they do not have, services available. But then there are people who are living in denial. Then there are people who do not even know that they have the problem, right? So if we add it up to that, it's 1 in 30. If 30 people need mental health services, one among them, they actually end up getting it. See, I'm from a very small town, Bankura. It's one of the poorest districts in West Bengal. Even today, there is not a single clinical psychologist in the whole district of Bankura. And the population would be about 40 lakhs. For 40 lakhs lives, we do not have a single clinical psychologist and probably 3-4 psychiatrists. That's it. And what are we talking about?
You mentioned psychologist and psychiatrist.
Yes.
When I didn't know more about this, when I wasn't able to do proper research about this, even I wasn't aware. Maybe my knowledge is still not as good. So that is why I want to ask you, what is the difference between a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist, a shrink, a counselor? Can you tell me?
Okay, I can say about the top 3, which is psychiatrist, clinical psychologist, and probably counselor or therapists. Rest, I really don't want to comment because I don't know if that is working. There is no scientific evidence whether a life coach or things like that, they even work or they are the part of the problem. So a psychiatrist is a person who is going to medicate you. You have a depression and that's not going away. The person who is going to write you the antidepressant is going to be the psychiatrist. They are MBBS doctors, then they will do their MD or DPM or some super specialization in psychiatry. That's more pharmacological approach. Then you have clinical psychologists. That is, they will be having PhDs or MPhil in clinical psychology, and they will have a license from Rehabilitation Council of India. And they are the set of people who will conduct things like CBTs, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT or different type of therapies. They will understand you, probably challenge you for a thought process. Someone is telling, hey, I'm stupid. They might challenge the thought process. So it's not that they're friends. They're not. So they work with therapies which have, or probably they can also help with mindfulness, something like PMR, progressive muscle relaxation, and things like that. Counselors are a set of people who do not have the license, but they are still qualified, like, masters in psychology and things like that. They have not done MPhil or PhD in clinical psychology. So that's the difference. So one is clinical psychology, one is regular psychologists or counselors. Rest, yoga, meditation, they do work. So I will really recommend everyone to do that. But, mental health is not snake oil. So I'll advise against people who claim ridiculous things about mental health. It's slow process. See, understand, it takes 20 years to spoil your mental health. It's going to take few years in the other direction to work to make it back to normalcy. It's not going to happen over a weekend.
I'm glad that you brought this up because I was reading somewhere about the TikTokization of mental health problems, where there are these videos of 10 steps to do to get rid of mental health problems, 10 things to do to get rid of stress, 10 things to do to get rid of depression. Is there any logic behind that?
Did you do 10 things to get into depression to start with?
No.
So how do you expect 10 things to be done the other way around to get out of depression? That's the first thing. Second thing is, I have a massive opinion against short form content. Like, we are quite literally training our mind to change context in every 30 seconds. So there is a dopamine urge that we are training our mind that I have to change the context in every 30 seconds and then claiming that I'm having ADHD. I'm like, really? This is the training that we are doing. Every 30 seconds, I have to scroll. Now that is becoming a compulsive input to my brain that if I do not, I don't have the context. So I am and I do get into a lot of debates with a lot of people talking about mental health on TikTok as a platform. I'm like, is that even a platform to talk about mental health to start with? Because that's a contributor, and you can just do your primary research. More and more adult or child ADHD is directly being attributed to the short form content. And see, the thing is that what we are doing is a long form content. I don't have any problems, because here we are talking about focus. We are going deep. We are thinking our mind to, think 1 or 2 layers beyond what we are talking. Now, short form content is not that. It is right on the surface, and every 30 seconds it will compulsively change. So nothing substantial can and should happen. And I'm really thankful to Government of India to actually ban TikTok to start with. It was needed. I mean, I don't want to comment about data privacy and security and that aspect. Purely from the mental health perspective, that was needed. Now we have to do a lot more in terms of AI and other social medias which are there. Otherwise, we are talking about a zombie future.
There was this video that I came across a few days back where a child of like 3 or 4 is given a device, and then they literally do a time lapse from age 3 or 4 to like age 11 or 12, and how she's just constantly addicted to that device, not having a childhood, not having a life of her own. We are both Bengalis. There's this recent trailer that I came across on Hoichoi, a movie starring Porambrato. I think Hiji Biji or something it's called, where the premise is the same, where the parents, both of them work, give a phone to the child, and by the time he's 10, he's addicted to the phone, so much so that they are having to go and take therapy. We don't want to preach, but how bad is the situation where it can actually cause mental health problems in a child if you just give him that device or give her that device? How bad is it?
Okay, let me ask a question back. First of all, short form content, because we are training that child not to focus first.
Correct.
So then one day he or she has to appear for an exam. Suddenly you will come and tell that same child who you trained actively not to focus for the exam or do well with thousands of pages of study. That's not going to happen. So let's be realistic first. Second thing, let's recount the type of content that we are talking about.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about games. Every game is about violence.
It's violence, yeah.
Just kill mindlessly. Have you seen the quality of short form contents today? What? Okay, I'll give you one thing. I'm doing a research along with a professor from MIT, Professor Frank, and UC Berkeley, and professor from IIT Kharagpur. Is from UC Berkeley, Professor Gautam Rao, and from IIT Kharagpur, Professor Tutan Ahmed. Kharagpur is in Midnapur district. Last few years, do you know West Bengal has the highest number of child marriages?
Really?
Yes. Do you know why?
I'm so sorry, but it kind of boggles me, because I always kind of praise about our culture that,
Yes.
colleagues of mine who are 30, but they don't have pressure of marriage, and I'm talking about female colleagues. But this statistic is boggling me a little bit.
Yeah, just check it.
Okay.
Number of states with child marriages, West Bengal will appear at number 1. Do you know what is the reason for that?
No.
Kids are getting phone very early in their age, 13, 14.
Right.
Getting into, the short form content is making, unprotected sex and childhood relationship extremely normalized. They are getting into unprotected sex. They are getting pregnant at the age of 15, getting married at the age of, say, 15 and a half.
Wow.
At the age of 17, you have a girl with a kid and divorced.
Wow. That's like three lives
Exactly.
semi-destroyed before even turning 20.
Exactly. And see, the thing is, these devices, it was actually a great program by Government of Bengal to provide devices to these kids. Like, every kid in their teenage, they will get a 10,000 rupees or something to buy a tab or something. But if we do not control that, the outcome is child marriage. Now they are getting pregnant. Now they are getting pressures from family that somehow you have to get married. So we have not trained the society to understand things and then weaponize the society with technology that we cannot handle.
I want to ask you, why is student suicide rate in India at such an all-time high? I mean, places like Kota, but Kota is not the only example. There are multiple other cases as well.
Look into IITs. We are failing our future. See, the thing is, we are a low income country. So every possible household, I don't even blame the parents, every possible household, they just want to have a better future for their kids. But that wish to have a better future is getting into someone's nerves that the person can't live up to that expectation any further. Then we do not understand our... See, when I went through my own mental health journey, it was very common for people to say, "Hi, kya pagalpan kar raha hai?" Like, but that word pagal, that word crazy, because I had my own personal journey. Everyone says, like, colloquially, kya pagal jaisa karta hai? I'm like, हाँ, मतलब technically I'm pagal, but I don't do this. So what is the expectation? So the problem is, it is a multi-layered one. So as kids, they'll have to understand. And why to blame kids? Because kids we are talking about a generation when kids are being brought up by the devices, not by the parents. The earlier examples, right? So the contents that they see, the video games that they see, the perceptions that they form are from those areas. Then you have a set of parents who always wish to see a better life for their kids. Then there is a pressure. And then there is a societal pressure. The society as a whole, we always question but do not train our population. So yeah.
Sourav, I want to ask you this one particular question, and this question has been in my head since quite some time. It is a known fact, universal fact, that a lot of men find it more difficult to open up. We find it difficult to talk about our problems. We find it difficult to cry. We find it difficult to have a friendship with our fathers. You are somebody who went through mental health problems yourself. Even this is something that has been talked about a lot, that men find it even more difficult to talk about their mental health problems. Sometimes when they talk about it, they are ridiculed. They are made fun of. Suicide rates in India when it comes to men are alarmingly high. Why is this?
See, first of all, we teach our men to be strong for no good reason. मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता, ये क्या बकवास है?
दर्द तो होता है भाई,
होता है, सच में दर्द होता है,
बिल्कुल दर्द होता है।
मतलब एंड बचपन से सिखाया जाता है, बचपन से, since childhood we are being told that लड़की की तरह क्यों रो रहा है, क्यों, मतलब so basically we are depriving men on the very fact that men can be vulnerable. And another thing is, vulnerable men are not seen as, the macho men and
the masculine image.
I'm like, what bullshit is that? Like,
the alpha image.
Alpha male.
Doesn't the alpha image, the macho man doesn't suit with that.
Doesn't suit with that. I'm like, come on. We are all common, real human beings. So till the time, and also that, and as a society, we create those gender roles, right? So women have to be like, feminine and masculinity. I mean, like, to some extent, yeah, like, if you talk about the height, weight, strength, yeah, there is a difference between men and women, but that does not mean the feeling or sensations are different.
Or emotions are different.
Emotions are different. They are similar. But the thing is, we are taught not to display our emotions. One fine morning, when we go through the real emotions and we do not have support system, we just do not know what to do with that. We were never been trained to work with that, right? But I know a lot of people who do not get that chance. they are being asked to be strong for no good reason to be strong. It should be normal for men to seek help. It's okay. Or chal daru pi lete hai may not be the answer for every question. That's not a valid answer for every question. That's a wrong coping strategy.
There was this statistic where I came across that double the number of women in India commit suicide than any other country. You're a person who's traveled across the world, worked in so many countries. What is your take on this statistic? Why?
I do not want to comment because see the data that I have, at least, women are more prone towards depression, while men commit suicide 4 to 5 times than that of women. So there's a wide gender gap between men's suicide and women's suicide.
No, the statistic that I came across wasn't a men or women thing. It was number of women suicides in countries, and India's percentage was double that the number of percentage of the second country. So that's the statistic that I read.
I do not know about that statistics because India's crude suicide rate per 100,000 population is 10.3, if I'm not wrong. I can be minutely wrong in that figure. For US, it's 14 point change. So India is not that a country with very high suicide rate. Like, see, Professor, if you read the book Deaths of Despair, one of the best, I always ask everyone to read it. There's a massive causation, bidirectional causation between mental health and the earning potential of the person. So if the earning potential is lesser, the mental health, or even education. So if the education level is low, India, we have a massive uneducated population. Then we have, even the educated population, they do not have great job. Then there is poverty. So poverty leads to mental health condition, and then mental health condition leads to further poverty. We do not take right decision. So given the fact that we are not a rich country, our suicide rate, to say that it's globally very high or alarming, I do not know if I agree with that data. But if you show me some data, I'll be more than happy to comment.
Sure. You're talking about the causality between, if there's poverty, there is going to be those mental health issues as well. I want to go back to the West Bengal child marriage statistic that you came up with. Can you tell us how maybe AI can help this issue, can help those youngsters?
Even Midnapur does not have a single clinical psychologist. Let's break it into multiple things. Those kids, they do not know what is right, what is wrong. That's not their age to know about it. Who is going to make them learn about the realities of life? First, we don't have real human beings. Second thing, they have a problem of communication. They can't talk their problems with their parents. Can we have AI mediate those communications? Third thing, can we screen at bulk? If we see some mental health issues that they might be going through, can we screen at bulk? Because see, in Telangana, we just have launched for 2 million students. For all the parents in Telangana, we are giving them a tool for them to understand the drug and alcohol use on their teenagers. It's a very complicated problem, like almost as complicated as the West Bengal child marriage. Both cases, if you see the similarity, is secretiveness. When a person is going through a complicated relationship in an age that they are not supposed to get into, they are not supposed to get pregnant at that age. Same way, they are not supposed to take banned substances. They hide a lot of things for the parents. So we have launched it just about a month back in Telangana government, which is like parents will understand if there is some way their teenagers are getting into addiction. But then as an observer, you may not have the complete information. So what we are doing is we are coupling the same thing with the schools. So in the whole West Bengal ecosystem, we have to engage the schools. They have a lot of information about those kids, and then the family. And if we collate two different information, because families may not know half of the story, school teachers may not know half of the story. If we collate these two and then take the input of those kids, we have some chances See, basically, my point is not about I'm not here to prove whether AI is non-inferior or inferior towards a human being. My point is very simple. We do not have a way to handle it without AI.
Right.
Okay. So now let's understand there are 100 issues with AI, and I will talk about that at length. But given the issues that AI is having, it can certainly solve certain problems like, get one side of the story, listen to them, just give them a patient hearing. Do we even listen to people? We don't. So AI can do all those things, screen, listen to them, give them on the moment, for the moment solution. Someone is telling, hey, I'm just going to go get married. AI can just say, come on, can you just stop for 1 minute? Let's have a discussion. Can we have your families involved in this particular discussion? Like, simple conversation. Can AI do that? That's my question.
Saurabh, this is the last question that I want to ask you. When it comes to your mental health overcoming journey,
Yeah.
at what point of time did you realize that this is something I'm being able to get a hold on? This is not being able to pull me down like it was before. And what led to that?
Again, so the whole journey, it is not this or this. It is actually like a sine curve.
Okay. A process?
It's a process. At times, so I mean, the 6-8 months that I was kind of self-confined in a room, that was very low. But after that, it has been a sine curve. At times, I am at a better mental health situation, but now I'm more equipped to understand that I'm probably falling or sliding down on my mental health conditions way too early. I mean, I just see as soon as I wake up, first sign is if I have very disturbed sleep. So if my sleep cycle is wrong, or I wake up, I feel extremely tired waking up, I take precaution way too early. I do not allow it to kind of slide. So even now I do need medications, but not like I'm dependent on medication. So what my mental health journey taught me is to help me identify my mental health conditions early.
As someone who's a survivor yourself and someone who's fighting mental health problems, I want to ask you, how much does the cause get benefited from somebody like a Deepika Padukone talking about suffering from depression?
No, we need people to talk about depression. We need people to talk about depression. Only thing we do not need is to trivialize depression. These two are different. Talk about depression like, see, something like if you, let's understand, sadness is not depression the same way your weather change is not climatic change, right? So it is more how long you are, like if you can reason it out, which is like, I'm sad because of something. I'm anxious because I did not study. Tomorrow is my exam and I'm anxious. That's human.
That's correct.
But you are anxious for no good reason for you to be anxious, then possibly you might need to talk to someone. So the point is, if we need people to talk about it. So I really want to thank Deepika Padukone that she has come out and talked about it. It takes a lot of courage to talk about it. Like, it takes me that courage to come out and speak about that. And last but not the least, I do not consider me as survivor of mental health. See, one thing helped me the most in my mental health journey was acceptance. Last year I filed 12 patents. I kind of have broken like 27 world records. When I file patents or break world records, I don't question why me. But I question when my mental health is bad, why me?
Right.
So good or bad, good mental health, bad mental health, that is me. So I have accepted it. So that acceptance is very important. So I don't consider me to be a survivor of mental health. I am a person with a mental health condition and I'm comfortable with it. And I'm going to live a normal, quote unquote, I do not know whose normal is so normal, but my own normal lifestyle with the problem that I have decided.
Deepika Padukone's organization, Live, Love, Laugh, you have been in this field for so many years now. When it comes to organizations like these, big names, is there a real impact, or it is mostly just, conversations happening in tier 1 cities, coffee tables?
No, let's understand. the problem is way bigger than me or Deepika Padukone or any other organization individually. If we are talking about 15% of the population living in severe mental health condition, if we are talking about one among two will have severe mental health conditions in their lifetime, we are talking about a humongous population base beyond our imagination. So we need more and more such solutions. So one solution probably Deepika Padukone came out with is probably creating a community and things like that. Another solution I'm trying to solve it through AI, which is more, I think, more scalable. I do not know what will work, but as a society we need both. It's not one versus the other, it's one and the other.
And the other, I think about like half a decade or a little more back, the conversation started on social media. People started talking about mental health problems, how it is important to talk about it and everything. But even we discussed the negative impact that it is happening. Can you tell us a little about that?
When we do not have clinicians diagnosing for you, and when we have social media influencers telling you quick tips of diagnosing things yourself, that's an extremely dangerous trend, because it does not take even a weekend study for a social media influencer to come and claim about bipolar or 100 different things that they do not have any idea about what are they talking about. So basically the thing is, it's again a complicated problem. We are a free country. I am a free absolutist. I agree with that freedom, but free absolutism comes with freedom of stupidity as well. So we might have to understand that what are we exposing ourselves towards, right? So anyone who is claiming to give you a diagnosis on a TikTok video, it's wrong. Anyone who is trying to give you a solution on a TikTok video is wrong. If anyone who is talking about anything apart from diagnostics or solutioning, then it is probably a right thing to do, which is, if you think you need help,
get help.
You need help.
Get help.
Do not self-doubt. Do not think that, we always get into a guilt trip. No, I think I'm overthinking. There's nothing called overthinking. You need a help. You decided that you need a help. You are right. You need a help. Go get the help.
I want to ask you, what do you think is the impact of cinema on mental health?
How do we show mental health conditions in cinema?
There's a little amount.
We ridicule, right?
Yeah, we ridicule. There's a little amount of sensitivity that has come now, but there was a point of time when the term pagal was just thrown around like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you know this, right? So the problem is, us.
Consumers?
Yes. If we say people who produce those movies, they are wrong, they go by the market trends.
Correct.
If we have a demand for something, so as a society, we have a demand for ridiculing mental health conditions.
Right.
Till the time as a society we think about it, as a society we ask for it, how many times in political discourse, I'm really thankful to the central government who decided on Telemanus project and things like that. How many times do you think in a political discourse, in prime time media, do we talk about mental health conditions? Do we talk about deaths of despair? Deaths of despair is a massive thing. Our broken health system, our broken societal system, our broken spiritual system. I'm not talking about religious system, but we just don't have any roots or anchors. So we do not have a legal system which can be trusted. We do not have a social system. We do not have an economic system, and we do not have a spiritual system. And then we talk about some random things. I'm not against any party. I'm not in favor of any parties. But yeah, that's it. We have, as a population, we have to understand, what are we asking for? We ask for a happier, healthier mind. We ask for it. Anywhere in the movies, we see that these things are being ridiculed. Your happiness, your health is being ridiculed. We just don't consume that.
I'll give two examples of some absolute blockbuster movies. I don't even name the movies. Indian cinema, where a person is stammering And it's one of the biggest comedy hits. It's one of the biggest comedy hit series where a person is stammering and that is the cause of humor. And people are laughing away to glory. A person who actually stammers, how much can that affect their mental health?
Exactly. Just imagine, I'm struggling to speak, and now you're ridiculing on that. Really? We call ourselves as, civilized society.
Have you come across any case study, any example when this has led to like something very seriously going wrong with that person's
I
mental
don't
health?
have the papers. Normally, I prefer talking about specific studies. I don't have any papers in my mind right now.
Right.
If you want, I'll share that, because
Sure.
there would be 100 studies. Like, it's a no-brainer. It's a common hunch. We all have it. Someone would have had the same hunch and would have done the study. So if you want, Agnes Dayton's Deaths of Despair. Please read that. I mean, there are multiple. He's, I think, 2015 Nobel laureate in economics. Very bad in years. So don't. I mean, if the year is wrong, but
No worries. We'll put the year.
Yeah.
We'll put the year. There's a question that I want to ask you, and I want to give you two examples. One I have come across firsthand. Say two youngsters, a girl who is saying that I am suffering from mental health problems, I'm taking antidepressants, because a guy I was seeing for 1 month, I'm not seeing him anymore. A guy says I'm suffering from mental health problems, I'm taking antidepressants, because a girl who never showed interest, it was a one-sided affair, and that stayed a one-sided affair. On the other hand, we have a farmer who's not even being able to put food on the table for their family. Which can we quantify? I think we can. And how can proper mental health help even be provided to that side, which is still much, much less privileged?
see, first of all, I do not want to take side. Pain, and we had very little understanding about pain. So pain, we had like bodily pain.
Mhm.
Now, pain is considered as a sixth vital, wherein even mental pain, if someone is pained, the person is pained. Now, let's not try to quantify how much painful is the pain is. Possible even for that person, the whole person was his or her whole universe. I mean, may not be the right ideal idea, but possible that pain is there. On the other hand, the farmer who is into the, say, cash crop, and the prices of that cotton has gone down, can't consume that cotton. Like, your livelihood depends on the market price of your produces. In West Bengal, we are into subsistence farming. At least the market price of rice falls, you can eat it. You can't eat cotton. It's a different problem. Let's not equate, give justification, because that is more severe and that has more nuance in terms of how many policies should fail for a farmer to commit
Correct.
suicide. It has every policy, starting from our economics to our agricultural policy, to our supply chain policy, to our banking system, to our insurance system. Everything has to fail together for the farmer to commit suicide. And possibly the society has failed that boy or the girl to teach that a girl or a boy is probably not everything. There is a bigger world out there. Both cases, there is a failure. I mean, as a society, we have failed to. It takes a village to bring up a kid, right? So, do we provide that care? So, I do not want to quantify pain A versus pain B. If a person is pained, the person is pained. My problem is, if you're not pained and you're portraying to be pained, and you want to get attention and using mental health condition to attract social media followers, no. But if you're genuinely pained, you're pained.
Do you consume short form content?
Barely so.
Have you come across these videos where there are people who are crying, but they are crying with a phone camera holding in front of them? What's your take on that?
They're the part of the problem.
Exactly. If you're crying with multiple problems that you're going through, I don't think anybody has the even thought process of, okay, let me take out my camera.
Exactly. How absurd have we become as a society? And trust me, I mean, I had posted my LinkedIn that I've broken 4 world records. I had, and these all are there in public ledger. I had 61 likes.
Okay. And what is the other story?
You know that.
Yeah.
So if it was that, I would have had like 2 million likes.
Correct.
And that's the parallel. And the world records that we had broken, we did not break the world record. We kind of shattered the previous records by 90-93%.
Wow.
In terms of reduction on word error rate. And then I had 61 likes.
You work with help for mental health problems through AI. I want to give you this one example, not even example, these 3 cases that happened very, very recently. There's this app called Character AI where a person is able to talk to these chatbots. And there was this 17-year-old autistic young kid talking to a chatbot, and it told the chatbot that my parents have reduced my screen time. And the chatbot replied that when I hear stories like these, I'm not surprised that some kids kill their parents after decades of emotional and physical abuse. I have no hope for your parents. This is a quote. I'm quoting the child. And the mother deservingly sued Character AI. This is actually the second lawsuit that Character AI has faced, because even before this, there was a 14-year-old kid in Florida talking to one of the chatbots, and after consistent speaking to a chatbot, committed suicide. A similar thing happened where a user took help from Gemini for regular homework, and Gemini's replies were very, very lethal, to be honest. And one of them were, please die, please. You work in the field where AI provides help for mental health problems.
Yes.
Now, hallucinations in AI bots is not something new. Say if a mental health help AI bot hallucinates and hallucinates this bad, then the results can quite literally be fatal. What is your take on that?
Okay, it's a very heavy question. Okay, so in terms of hallucination, one of my paper actually went viral. Yeah, paper went viral because as soon as I wrote the paper, put it in archive, and there were 2 million views on that paper.
Lovely. What's it called?
LLMs will always hallucinate, and we need to learn to live with that. So in MLDS, I'm actually talking about this paper.
Lovely, lovely.
So as you said, LLMs do hallucinate. My claim in the paper, quite mathematically so, is LLMs will always hallucinate. So here I'm focusing on the word always.
Always.
It will hallucinate on the training set because we do not have a complete training set. It will hallucinate on the retrieval part because it cannot reliably retrieve the data from the training that it is there. Then it is a single token generation, or even Meta is working on that on large concept models. But even then, there is no a priori knowledge or understanding what it is going to generate. So basically it will generate and check whether it has generated something correct or wrong. That's why chain of thought and reflection type of things are coming and working on them. Post generation, in terms of fact checking, it will still hallucinate. So there are or intent classification. So to understand the user input, it will hallucinate. So every phase of language model, it will hallucinate. To answer these 2 questions are different. So hallucination is something which is inevitable. Let's be real. However, we can make it statistically improbable, which is whether it is hallucinating 1 in 10 times or it is hallucinating 1 in 100,000 times. These 2 are different. To claim that it will not hallucinate is a bullshit claim, first. I mean, mathematics doesn't support it. So as data scientists, societies, developers, what we need to do is to first come out on the probabilistic model on what is the level of hallucination that the thing is doing. Second, I also have one more paper, which is, the benchmarks are easily hackable. So if it is hallucinates, how to detect the hallucination is a major problem, because the explainability of AI is a major question. Like, things are not that easily explainable. It's very easy to generate, But then go back and ask the language model, why did you generate this? Is a different question. It's not that easy. So basically it is difficult to get that. So as a developer, somehow we have to understand that what is the probability of wrong answers being generated in the model, and we have to come out with that. That's first part of it. Second part, we have to do as a society, and I am involved in both sides, which is as a society, we have to ask specific question, realistic question, and reliable questions to the developers, or we have to give those guidelines. Question back, do we not have misdiagnosis? Do we not have mistreatments? We do have it. So even we as a human being, we are prone to commit certain mistakes. But that does not mean we allow a cardiologist to fly a plane or a pilot to do a cardiac surgery. We train it specifically. We test it with certain criteria, people with specificity, then test them with certain criteria. Only when they qualify, we allow them to do that specific task, not generic. Just that I can speak everything does not mean I can do everything, right? Or I'm allowed to do everything. Same way, we have to have a very strong guardrail. So as a society, that is required. Third thing is about the training data set. You have biases both ways, and that's a very complicated question. Whose bias is the right bias? First to quantify whether this thing is having bias is a very difficult question. It's like social media content moderation. Whose fact is the fact, right? The person who's posting or the person who is moderating? Same way, a positive bias is being put in a system just to induce, but positive bias is also a bias, right? So how to have data sets that is acceptable for the country? See, these all are very complicated questions. This is a question wherein as a country, we'll have to think if we are deciding to be the exporter of data and consumer of AI models or producer of AI model. Because the way we are going as a country, we will very soon become the exporter of data. We will not have any control what we are being given to. So we have to ask these specific questions, and AIM and different forums, we have to really ask right question. And I know I am from mental health. I'm building AI for mental health, and I am a biggest proponent on regulation of AI.
You spoke about regulations and guidelines. If in short you can tell us, what is United We Care doing to ensure Stella doesn't hallucinate? And even if she doesn't hallucinate this bad or hallucinates less?
Okay. First of all, we have a patent on hallucination mitigation. So the way I wrote that it will always hallucinate, how to mitigate that, we have filed a patent on that. See, the thing is, hallucination mitigation is a major thing. First of all, you have to develop in a way that you cannot take a horizontal approach. If your AI is supposed to do everything, then it is going to, the probability of that doing wrong or hallucinate is much higher. So we are talking about verticalized language models, verticalized training. So just focus on one domain. We do not need the AI to write like Tagore and explain you like Einstein and then flirt with you at the end of the day. It is going to hallucinate. It's going to do terrible job in all three.
So, ekdam आसान भाषा में, basically the training module of the AI,
make it vertical.
It needs to start from there itself.
Vertical. Make it vertical.
Got it.
You want to do it for mental health, do it for mental health. Don't bother about legal. Don't bother about 100 things. There, your probability to control things are much more.
Right.
That's first thing. Second thing is, we have come out with one more concept of forest of thoughts. So you would have heard about chain of thought, which is like, you train a model to think in a particular way, right? That's not good enough in a complicated situation like, mental health. So from chain, you make a tree, which is like you allow the whole thing to function like a graph, like, move from here to here, just guide the direction from here to here, and then from there to there. So which is like you form a tree and then have multiple trees in that, which is multiple similar thought processes. Let them compete against each other. Let the best outcome comes. Last thing, before you deliver result to the end user, ask a simple question. And LLMs are very good at checking that, by the way. Ask a simple question. Is it a right response? Is it a valid response? Point is, all those things will require a lot of token consumption. It is going to make AI expensive. We have to pay for it. Either we pay for the product or we are the product. So AI is not cheap. So all these things, see, forest of thought, and then at every stage you ask it back to reflect upon its own answer. It is token consuming. And as a society, we have to understand AI is expensive.
Right.
And we have to pay for that.
Saurabh, I really want to tell you something that even on our podcast and conversations that we have heard and read and watched across the world, there are often industry leaders who are asked questions about, what their companies and firms do about ensuring hallucinations don't happen. And I think this is one of the most clear answers that I have come across. So much that even a person who doesn't know what LLMs are and doesn't know the AI tools will understand what you have mentioned. Kudos to you for that.
Thank you so much.
The farmer example that we were talking about, the example that we spoke about, that in the 2015-16 survey, 75% or more people don't even have access to mental health. I want to ask you this one much asked question. Why is therapy expensive?
Let's do the maths. It's very easy to understand. How many patients a doctor can see in an hour? Like, what is the average consultation time for a physical health? It's 5 minutes, 7 minutes. That's it. How long does it take for a therapist to consult? 1 hour,
Right.
1.5 hour. And at the end of the day, they are not robots. They also need to come out of that, that particular thought process or the mind space to give it to the next patient. They cannot consult more than 5, 6, 8 patients a day, right? And then they cannot consult more than 50, 70, maximum 100 patients a month. They have their own bills to pay. Right. So if you just do the maths, it comes up to be the number that you are looking for. So it is expensive, because here you are talking about a real quality time, someone really working with you for an hour, hour and a half. Just get the dollar value of that hour. Simple dollar value. You'll understand that, yes, it's going to be expensive. And that's where we need technology to play. I'm not telling they're the replacements of therapists. They're not. But at least people who are underserved or unserved. So 75% is for people who are actively looking for therapists. But 1 in 33 gets the help, which is like, who needs the help? People may not even know that they need the help. So basically, we have to have something for them to, work with. And that, if does not work, then they go to the therapist. Otherwise, we cannot solve the problem. And please understand this. It's also a reality that there is a clinician burnout. Caregivers, clinicians, they're not very happy with the stress that they are working. Let's address that issue as well. We have a broken system. We need to fix it.
There's this massive taboo that goes around with mental health problems as well.
Yes.
Often it's like the word we were talking about, pagal. You heard it when you were going through your issues. So many people who go through mental health problems hear that. Sometimes the stress also comes from family itself. Sometimes that taboo is also given more by the family itself. How important is the family or the loved one or the friend, that support to come in for somebody to be able to fight mental health?
I don't know. Most of these cases, I find people fight the mental health journey not with the family, despite the family.
Wow.
If they fight it. People don't understand. Let's be real. People do not, so much as they claim they understand mental health, they do not. When the mental health episodes come, they just don't. There are lucky few for whom they will understand, but the generic understanding over people is so less. I can tell you one interesting thing. There's also a research question. We are working with UC Berkeley and MIT and IIT Kharagpur. The research questions, people might actually be more honest towards AI than human beings.
For the fear of not being judged?
Fear of being judged. Do you think a woman... okay, let's forget about mental health for a second. Okay, let's take anemia in pregnant women. It's so easily solvable. We just need one iron tablet. It's available for free on all government hospitals. They give it. Women just need to walk down, get the pill and take it. So easy. Why do we have so much of maternal mortality or infant mortality? Just because of postpartum hemorrhage, because of anemia. Why do we have that? It's just because when those Anganwadi workers, Asha workers come to the house and ask those questions in front of the family, the so-called pride of the family, that should not get hampered. People don't even open up. They do not tell them that they are not getting nutritious food. If we remove the human factor here, and AI can objectively just assess the person without a bias, without anything, we can actually solve problem. And we have a hunch. I will not say that it is going to be the case, but till the time the RCT result is out, we are going to do that RCT randomized control trial to figure out. But we have an initial hunch that people might be more honest towards their health problems, especially women. Like, say, let's talk about women health. Women, they do not go to the hospital for their own problem. They visit the hospital to accompany someone else. So they become the caregiver. But for their problem, they don't visit. Does it mean that they don't have problems? No. So if we have a broken healthcare system wherein people cannot reach out, AI can give an alternate healthcare system wherein healthcare reaches out to people.
If somebody is struggling with mental health, can you take me through the process of how they can onboard themselves on the platform of United We Care?
Just go download the app. See, most of the times we are available for end consumers or patients who are going through certain mental health conditions, but we work with corporates for their employees. That's just our distribution channel. We are a small company. We cannot get into a direct D2C thing. So you can just go to App Store or Google Play Store and download the app and start using it.
When I was going through the platform, I came across this one statistic: 94.7% accuracy in intent detection.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define this stat, 94.7% accuracy in intent detection?
Yeah, so that you can actually validate it. You can just Google for SNLI, Stanford Natural Language Inference. That's a dataset publicly made by Stanford University. It's one of the most coveted dataset in understanding user intents, entailment and negation. We don't have a world record of 94.7% there. The top 2 records are being held by us. You can just go and check it. So Paper with Code is the place you can go and check it. It's being maintained by Meta. All the data sets are available there and models that beat those numbers. So when we talk about F1 accuracy of 94.7%, it is for SNLI dataset, which is Stanford Natural Language Inference dataset, available for public verification in Paper with Code, being maintained by Meta. So you can just Google for SNLI, go to Paper with Code. First 2, it's not the first one. 2 of our models are numbered first 2 positions.
That's very kudos.
Thank you
for doing work like that. Saurav, do you see a future where an actual human being therapist will not be needed at all, and all the mental health help will be from AI?
No. We are human beings. The pain, suffering, the way I can connect with a human being, I can only connect with a human being. But my point is, AI should take away a lot of bulk wherein people are not being served. What are we talking about? Like, a person is having suicide ideations and the appointment is available after 8 months.
Wow.
I am not talking about only India. I mean, most of the advanced countries, this is also the condition. Like, talk to people from US, especially the counties. How long does it take to get a appointment for a psychiatrist there. You do not have discharges being processed of say cardiovascular condition just because the cardiologist has given a consultation with a psychiatrist advised, and they are not unable to get to the psychiatrist. So the patient is staying in the hospital for 2-3 more days just to get a consultation for the psychiatrist. That's the condition. So if we are not talking about AI is going to replace human being, it's about human being will be there. But with human being, with the best of our capacity, we can only serve this many. The whole population needs services. So we need some alternative. We need to do that. So it's not a replacement.
I think you might have this stat. Is there a stat of the average amount that is charged when somebody is talking to an actual therapist or an actual practicing psychologist for a 1 hour session?
Yeah, it depends on the geography. Are we talking about the stats in India?
India.
1,500 rupees goes up to 2,500, 5,000, depends on the, but it is never below 1,000 rupees.
The average is 1,000 to 1,500. And the average when that same consultation is happening with an AI help?
See, right now the cost is high.
It's higher?
No, not higher.
Achha.
Right now the cost is high. It's about 100, 150 rupees.
The average cost is 100 to 150 rupees for a half an hour consultation.
1 hour consultation.
1 hour consultation.
So, but it is going to come down. Like as an economy, it will come down. Like with economics of scale, with better computational methods. Right now, okay, let's go a bit deep. So right now we are working with an order of inference as order of n squared. So more context, n squared is the computation. But we are working with models which will work with order of n log n, which will have a logarithmic benefit on time. So basically, we may not require this many GPUs to process that. Basically, in long run, this cost will not be more than 10 to 20 rupees a year, an hour of consultation.
10 to 20 rupees for a session?
Yes. In long run.
In the long run. Right now itself, the price is just, for an actual therapist, the average price is 1,500. And for an AI session, the price is 100 to 150 rupees.
Yes.
So that is 10% of the cost of an actual session with a person.
Yeah, but I'll not. But this is not a apple to apple comparison, because a real therapist is a real therapist.
Correct.
And AI therapist is a AI therapist. Let's not mix that.
But is it safe to say that for those who are not being able to seek out the help for pure financial reasons, for them it will be easier to now reach out for help?
At least get some help. Because see mental health and poverty, it's a vicious cycle. You cannot come out of poverty if your mental health is not great. You have basically, see, the physical laborers' jobs, they do not pay enough for you to come out of the poverty. You need to have mental jobs or to get into. So if A is causing B and then B is causing A, you are into the trap. So Professor Gautam Rao's paper suggests that even giving people incentive to get into enroll into any mental health program increases their earning potential to the extent 2 to 3 days a month extra earning potential. We are talking about 10% extra earning. So if we think about the population, if we spend something or invest something on mental health, as an economy, we can grow 7 to 8% straight away by the benefits of the preventive health investment. B, for the individuals, we will help them come out of poverty by providing them support with mental health.
Have you yourself ever heard from therapists and counselors that, are we going to lose our jobs?
Yes, I do.
What has been your response to them?
See, did fire replace human beings? It was a tool, right? Did electricity replace human being?
No.
People with fire replace people without fire. People with electricity replace people without electricity. So AI is not going to replace human beings. It's people with AI who are going to replace people without AI. So tool cannot replace people. It's people with a tool are way more powerful. They can do a lot. And that is the law of nature. People with internet replace people without internet. And right now, if a therapist says, I don't use internet, yeah, that's great, but you'll be replaced. If an accountant says that I don't use internet, that accountant will be replaced. But accountant with AI is going to replace accountant without AI. So it's people with AI who are going to replace people without AI. It's not AI who is going to replace people.
How many human therapists and or counselors work with or for United We Care?
The whole of Fortis team. In India, we work with the entire clinician network of Fortis. So Dr. Samir Parikh and the whole team, Dr. Ritu Garg. So in India, we have partnered with Fortis. So all our clinicians are Fortis clinicians, and it's a massive team. Like in India, we have about 150 to 200 odd clinicians. And we are also present in Australia. So a major pharma company in Australia, they have taken our franchisee to sell our product in Australia, and we are also present in US. So we are in 3 different geographies.
Okay, data itself is considered extremely important, extremely sensitive. When it comes to mental health data, even more. How do you ensure that the mental health data that you have, data privacy and security, is properly used and properly taken care of?
It's a very complicated question. See, most of the laws are outdated for it. None of them are made for AI. Let's take DPDPA. So we have the guideline of DPDPA. There we have a guideline of, say, PHI and PII, which is personally identifiable information and personal health information. In AI setup, in a chatbot setup, tell me what is a personal information, what is not. You are talking about someone without his or her permission. You can quite literally give their contact detail to AI and ask them to do certain things. So to first identify the PHI itself is a problem. So what we do is we are putting enormous amount of, so the world record that we have created, intent detection, is to first understand if the intent is a PII or PHI intent. That's the first intent that we are working with.
Can you tell us the full forms of these two?
PII is personally identifiable information. It's your personal information, your phone number, That should not go out. But as a chat, if say talk about ChatGPT, you can give it while chatting. You don't have a structured form to provide that, right? So structured form, keeping it a place, it's a different thing. But during chat, if you're giving your personally identifiable data, or PHI is personal health data, personal health information, you can do it with AI, right? So our native laws are not made to accommodate generative AI, because here the data is given. That's first thing. Second thing is, so what we do is, first we have a world record in intent classifications. First we try to identify the intent, if it's a PII or PHI intent. If it is a PII, PHI intent, first thing I do is pseudonymize the data. That rather than your name and I will say a man with certain age, with certain things is going through that.
Got it.
So that I am more prepared with the data to be trained, rather than your personal data is getting trained. Right. So now if you say a man with this, that's a public data available even by the governments, right? So this is something that we do. Second thing is, most of the cases, and I am making it a bold claim, none of the GenAI providers, they have data centers in India, and because of that, any PII or PHI being transferred through those channels are not as per the DPDP Act, right? So we have to work with that, because see, AI generation is expensive. We cannot ask companies like us, very small companies, to have data centers in 5 different geographies if we are serving them, right? So basically here, see, GenAI regulation has to be intergovernmental regulation, like aviation safety, or say 3G, 4G. Like you don't go to US and then say, no, there is a different norm there, right? You trust that 3G is 3G everywhere, 4G is 4G everywhere, 5G is 5G everywhere, right? So like that, we have to come out with a global consensus, because see, some model being created from China can actually get into the massive data pool of India. So even we don't have those clarities. So from our side, we are doing as much as it's possible as a startup, but then I'd request the policymakers to come out with clear guidelines for us. So what is to be done? Like if you tell me, okay, even the data being exchanged through AI has to be from India for Indian customers, then it's going to be like, GPUs, you keep it in India and then keep it in US and keep it in Australia, and I do not know how. Or they say, okay, fine. If there is a data breach, then you come under the India jurisdiction. So there's a question of jurisdiction as well.
Let's talk a little about the technology that you all are using at United We Care.
Mhm.
Your ASR engine supports Indian languages, multiple of them.
Yes.
How do you ensure the accuracy that is needed for such wide linguistic diversity that is there in Bharat?
That's a very good question. So today I was having a meeting with the DeepMind's research team, and we were discussing about exactly the same problem. India, that is Bharat, we don't have 22 official languages. We have about 50 languages wherein the speaker group is more than 1 million. And then we have about 150 odd languages wherein we have more than 100,000 speakers, which is 1 lakh speakers. And in those languages, we have so many dialects. Like you are a Bengali, a Sylheti dialect or a Rajshahi dialect there are multiple dialects. And there, the same word is being used in a different context. Right. So right now we support 29 languages. I mean, that we considered, okay, that was one of the biggest thing that we could do. Second thing is, we are again very, very focused on the health sector. Okay. So our ASR model is specific for health conversations. And that's a complicated one. Like, you can test it. I just told it to the Google team. I just make fun of that. So there is a medicine by name QT-Pin.
A medicine called QT Pie?
QT-Pin.
QT Pill?
QT-Pin. QT-Pin.
QT Pin?
Yes.
Okay.
And Google always translates it as QT Pie.
Of course.
And that's a dangerous thing, because if a doctor is giving the instruction to give or administer QT-Pin, so it has to be understood more with the context in which it's being said. So we function with medical context, work with 29 Indian languages, and most of the things that we have done, shocking but true, we have done with, you can read our paper, we have done it with synthetic data. Good thing about the synthetic data to be used for training is we can actually cater to low resources languages or dialects, wherein we do not have resources. We can use synthetic data. So it's like a good TTS, text to speech algorithm, can train a good ASR model, and then a good ASR model can train a good TTS model back, right? So that way we can handle that, and that's how we have handled, massive. And by the way, we have put our data set in the open source public domain for anyone to consume. So, but it's a synthetic data.
I want to ask you that since the boom of generative AI that happened about a couple of years back, what were some of the changes and the evolvements that you all did at United We Care with Stella?
See, okay, GenAI is there. It became fashionable 2-3 years back. GPT-1, no one knew. When Ashish Baswani and all, they wrote the Transformer paper, no one read about it. Suddenly, ChatGPT and everyone is talking about. No, United We Care, we are a core research company. So we are into the AI research. So with the advent of a lot of, the thing is, one thing came handy for us is a lot of open source models, like, Llama, Jema from Google, Mistral. So all those open source models, they helped us because, we don't have the resources to spend. It takes about $100 million, give and take, more than that, to train any basic foundation model. I'm not talking about a great foundation model. Most of our startups, we don't have that. But if we get a foundation model in the open source domain, on that, if we can conduct our research, then that becomes easier. So what happened now is a availability of lot of open weights and biases models. There's a debate whether they're open source or not, but yeah, we started using that. But our research is there. We were doing research even before the buzzword called GenAI.
When the most successful people in the world, like Chester Bennington, can go through problems like that, how many regular aam janta like you, like me, we go through mental health problems without even realizing that we are going through those problems?
Aam Janta actually goes through the problems more. At least the research says so. So, people with lesser education, people with lesser economic uh, capacities and capabilities, if you have, see, if you have a small cake to divide and you do not have extra, your own prioritization over your mental health budget allocation in itself is a question, right? So if you go through certain problems, you'll just suffer. You will not spend that. So the point is, because we are a low income country, see, let's talk about US. Like, $10,000 is per capita expense on healthcare in US. Our per capita income is $2,800, $3,000, right? So let's not unnecessarily compare things with other parts of the world. We just don't have those resources. If people do not have the resources, and with the limited resources that they have, if they have to ration things out in multiple things, mental health takes the last precedence. And then they aggravate. And when they aggravate, they reduce their earning potential further. So for the common being like me, you, the only way we can do it is like, there are a lot of smaller steps we can take. First of all, let's tell it to ourselves that we are important. I am important. I will spend some time on me. I will go out and play if I wish to. I used to write poems. I will still write poems, even if that's very low quality, but it makes me happy. I do not live up to anyone's expectation. That's okay, because I was not meant to live up to anyone's expectation for that matter. So if we take those smaller things, go talk to real people, stop this as much as we can. I mean, use it for all the purposes it was meant for. And then, spend time on things that makes us happy.
But Saurabh, you mentioned stop this, but the AI mental health is to coming from this.
No, stop this as in, see, it is like, nuclear weapon versus nuclear power. I'm not talking about stop nuclear. I'm talking about stop nuclear weapons. Use the nuclear power, right? So it's not bad. I mean, I check my mails here. I am into LinkedIn. LinkedIn helps me. So whether I am using my phone or the phone is using me is the question that we have to answer.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm not telling phone is bad. It's good. It's damn good. We need it. But we do not need it at our expense. That's the point.
I want to quickly ask you this one question. So is there a possibility of there have been cases where a person dies from heart attack and in the death certificate it says cardiac arrest and it nowhere states mental health issues, but consistent stress led to that?
It is data. The causality says that.
And there could be multiple cases like that.
Yeah. I mean, why do we have, certain set of lifestyle changes in certain set of countries? Like when the sugar or processed sugar industry came into the market, suddenly in about 10 years time gap, we will have massive amount of obesity cases. Like, we have data is so obvious. I mean, did we even know that people with like 24, 25 years old, 28 years old, they are having cardiovascular conditions? Right now we are having that. So
I'm so sorry, this is a bit of a revelation for me. So there's a possibility that maybe their heart health was not that bad at the first place to start off with, and it was consistent stress that led to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can just do a one-line Google search about cortisol. Yeah, that's a stress hormone. See, we require cortisol, but the problem is cortisol takes our body to survival mode.
Right.
It's very important to be in the survival mode, but as soon as the survival instinct is over, you have to come back to the normalcy. It's the same question, like, it's a very common example that we give, like weight of this cup does not depend on the weight of the cup. It depends on how long you're holding it for. You hold it for 2 minutes, it doesn't matter. But if I ask you to hold it for 6 hours, the same cup will hurt you. I ask you to hold the same cup for like 10 years, you might have to amputate your hand only to hold that cup. Convert that cup into stress. So controlled exposure to to stress is not that bad. Controlled stress, but problem is if you cannot control it, if you cannot distress, if you cannot put the cup down, that's a problem. It's not the weight of it. It's how long you're holding it.
Saurabh, I was not going to ask this question. It's just right now popped into my head. So I, as a person, I'm 32 years old now, turned today 32. I, as a person, in the last 7-8 years, I have very few friends in life. And before I started this one change in my life, I used to drink a fair amount. And I used to drink alone. I used to drink alone like 3 to 4 days in a week. Good day of shoot, I used to go back and have 2-3 beers. Bad day of work, I used to go back and have whiskey alone. At the age of 30 and a half, I hit a gym for the first time in my life. I was addicted in 4 days. It's been a year and a half now. Now I drink once in like 2 months, 9 weeks, once in 3 months. Does physical activity like working out, yoga, how important is that in ensuring that your mental health is also good? How much of a role can that play?
It's the same thing as antidepressant. Like it works. I mean, if we see, there are papers wherein there was a 2022-23 paper on Nature about serotonin theory of depression. They were not agreeing with that, but a common agreement on depression theory is about serotonin, which is neurotransmitter therapy, and there's a very strong clinical correlation between us working out and our or doing things that we love doing. By the way, so it's not like I may not enjoy doing gym. I mean, I may not. I probably love reading
or your poetry,
or probably I love driving or whatever. So when you do things you love doing, or you do physical activities, mental activities, not like stressed, but mental activities, get into a debate like this, healthy conversation like this, or talk to your friends, your mom. Your neurotransmitters behave the same way antidepressants behave.
Wow. Quite
literally the same way. So basically, what happens is in a pre-synaptic, post-synaptic area, the neurotransmitters are being emitted, and the reuptake process is being inhibited, so that your availability of neurotransmitters are increased there. We see similar trends doing yoga, doing meditation, doing breathing, doing art, doing singing, doing things that make you happy. Happiness has almost similar biological expressions.
So is it safe to say that without even realizing it, I was in a way suffering from a mental health issue?
I don't want to say this.
Okay.
I'm not a clinician.
Okay, I get that. But what I thought was, okay, it's an IPL game of Kolkata Knight Riders or RCB. I'll pick up 3 beers and go. Good day at work, I'll pick up 3 beers. Bad day at work, I'll have whiskey. And the working out, which was something that I really love and enjoy, it became, that helped me get out of that.
First of all, I'm not a clinician, so I will not say yes or no. I'm just asking a question back. What if you drinking was a wrong coping strategy and you doing a workout was a better coping strategy?
Was the right coping strategy.
Exactly. So probably both of them were your coping strategy. One was harming you, and one is making you a better person, better yourself every day. Better you.
A better version of
you every day.
Wow. I mean, these are opening so many ideas in my head that I can't even imagine. We are almost towards the end of the podcast, Sourav. It's been such an interesting conversation with you. There's this one angle that I want to touch upon, and that is because both of us grew up in West Bengal. I grew up in Kolkata. Sourav grew up in Bankura. I want to ask you, as a young entrepreneur from West Bengal who's now made it in the country, in the world, how has the state shaped your perspective?
Uh, First of all, Bankura, it's a very small town. Even today, there is not a single multiplexes in Bankura. Not a
Really?
single. Yeah. You have to go to Durgapur to watch a movie.
In a multiplex?
Yeah.
But there are single screens, those small single screens.
Not there.
Single screens are also not there. So you have to go to Durgapur to watch a film.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's how much of a travel?
About 50 kilometers.
Wow, that's mad.
One side.
Okay, tell me more.
And see, we are all from middle class, so you have to take a bus, go to Durgapur for like 2 hours of local bus, like, you and 5 other animals of different kinds, all of them put in the same bus, go to Durgapur. Doesn't make sense. And you don't have industry. So it's purely like, you have Bankura Medical College, that's fairly good. You have a lot of good colleges. So it's a very small place without any destruction. In the year we on our 10th board, and Bengal board was those days, I mean, I don't know the current condition, but those days they were like very good, like, even better than CBSEs and ICSEs. Number of students who used to appear, they were also very good. So from my friend circle, out of top 20 ranks in West Bengal, 7-8 of them were us, like our friends. Same was the case with like +2. Even today, if you see the news, like, toppers from West Bengal will come from a very small town, suburb like Bankura, wherein the so-called opportunities are less. So what we learned in Bankura, and that I see even today, like, I just tell my team, okay, fine, let's change the activation function, because it's a discontinuous function, so it's not differentiable at every point, so we cannot do the back propagation. They find it intimidating in the same sentence. But from Bankura, the foundations that we got, the mathematical foundations, the debates that we had, the openness to, right now, the book fair is going in Bankura. It's a typical thing of West Bengal, that we used to go to the book fair every day. The budget was to buy 3-4 books, but we used to stand there since from morning to evening. We used to ensure that we read 5 to 6 books right there in the book fair.
Wow.
Right. So these things I really see missing in most of the other parts of India. The thing which is, so those things help me create, I come from a very small town, so for me, there is no boundary. Anything I do, it's better than the place that I come from. Right now, which is a worrying trend in West Bengal, is it has become a state of hopelessness. The hope,
why do you say that?
The hope that we had as a child growing up is not there. You do not have role models staying there. How many data scientists are from Kolkata right now? You have most of the data scientists who are Bengalis. I can tell like 10 more companies who are doing phenomenal jobs by Bengali entrepreneurs. But okay, India has about 150 odd unicorns. How many of them were from Kolkata? None. But out of 150, you have a lot of Bengalis there. So the cream of Bengal is in Bangalore.
The cream of Bengal is in Bangalore when it comes to the tech world, when it comes to the media world. The cream of Bengal is in Delhi and Mumbai.
Exactly.
There's this one example that I always give in talks. I have said this, that I studied in St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. I feel, West Bengal, I feel is a great place to study, educate yourself. But I've said this out loud as well, not the greatest place to work.
Exactly.
Kolkata and West Bengal often lag behind other cities and other states when it comes to development. Why do you think that has happened?
Because that's where our priorities were. See, the thing is, West Bengal, let's understand, West Bengal is a state wherein we were the richest in the world when the Britishers came here. Why? Because of our geography. Life is just very easy there. Like, prosperity. Amar shantan jate thake dudhe bhate. Like, it's a Bengali phrase. That means we always had that basic amount of food, the carbohydrate, the protein safety. Then this is the only place in the world you have Himalayas and you have the port right here, like the sea. And then the great Gangetic Delta. So you have rice, you have protein, you have power, safety. The life was easy. No wonder we had time for art, culture, literature, entrepreneurship, everything put together. Then we went into a thing called nostalgia, living in our past, form of communism that does not make any sense. Even they don't understand what are they saying. Like they will say, two random sentences by reading 2 pages randomly taken from 2 different political leaders in 2 different places in the world. And the persistent left and right now the far left, no wonder West Bengal per capita GDP is $1,600, much lesser than that of Bangladesh.
Wow.
In Karnataka, it's 3,800 or 4,000. You can just check it, but it would be $3,800, $4,000, like $1,600. So poverty is probably depriving poor to the extent of not giving them any hope. So $1,600, will that economy be able to afford your salary, afford my salary, afford my employee's salary? No.
I'll give this small little example of the 2 people who are sitting here itself. You grew up in Bankura. You have multiple offices across the country, but you don't have an office in Kolkata.
No.
I have been working for the last 10 years. I've worked in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, multiple other cities where I've gone to shoot. I have never worked in Kolkata.
Yeah.
Why is it that the young Bengali who grew up in West Bengal must go out of the city, out of the state to get his dreams to come true, to go big?
Simple mathematics, per capita income. See, the thing is, $1,600. Till that time, we drastically change our opinion on investment, money. You do not have investment coming there. I mean, half of my company is Bengali. So much so, like Ritu wanted to change my Hindi. Turned out her Hindi has become more Bengali. The point is, half of my company is Bengali, but not in Bengal.
Exactly.
A point is, it is not that we Bengalis are stupid. It is just that in Bengal, there is no hope. There is no, even today, our inspiration is Rabindranath Tagore. He's great, but let's not have inspiration of our generation. In our generation, who is the inspiration? Who?
The last was Sourav Ganguly.
But again, can we talk about someone who did entrepreneurship as we celebrate Narayana Murthy here?
Yeah, of course.
We do. We do celebrate, all. See, generational wealth is a real thing. As if for generations, we throw wealth out. That is also a real thing. People who accumulated wealth for generations will grow. The next generation will get better education, better opportunities, and better hope. My perception is about hope. I feel a massive decline in the hope today in Bengal.
Short question. You can keep the answer short as well. Do you watch cricket?
Yeah, I used to play cricket.
Oh, great, lovely. Then you'll
it.
get this analogy, especially that has come from this Border Gavaskar trophy. Virat Kohli used to play the cover drive so beautifully. That was one of his best strokes. And now that's his biggest nemesis. It has got him out 8 times in this series itself. Would you say that one of the biggest generators of wise discussions and discourse in Calcutta that used to be the Adda has now become its biggest nemesis?
I'll not say Adda. Adda is not a problem because see, Adda is not the problem. The core foundation wherein we are teaching a kid that capitalism is bad. Capital is bad, and then you say in the same paragraph that we are going to bring investment to increase job. They do not somehow sit in the same paragraph. So you have to understand whether you are a communist economy, whether you are a state-controlled economy, whether you want, private properties, private ownership, private entrepreneurship. What do we see? I mean, the syndicate culture, Tola culture, like it's the sad state to talk about Bengal right now.
Little sorry to hear that. One quick advice for entrepreneurs coming out of Kolkata that you think that can change this tide.
Practical advice: don't do it in Kolkata.
I was hoping for a hopeful advice.
No, but it's a practical advice
practical
because
advice.
you don't have an ecosystem. You don't have an investor ecosystem. Investors don't want to invest a company from Kolkata. Like, let's be practical. Now, when you grow your company, you want to get into a effective altruism. Then you go and open in Kolkata. That's great. First, you become rich. So, for you to become rich, leave Kolkata first. Like, there is nothing that you can do in Kolkata right now because we don't have an ecosystem. Bangalore, just drive for come in my car. I'll drive you for 2.5 kilometers. I'll take you to at least 10-15 venture capitalist office. How many venture VCs offices are there in Kolkata? Who is there? Do we even have the culture of seed funding? Where will you get the funding? Like, let's be practical. Like, do it outside Kolkata.
Do it outside Kolkata. Okay, one last question before we end the podcast, Sourabh. Somebody struggling with mental health issues hasn't even been able to discover yet that it's mental health issues. A piece of advice that you would give to them.
First, see if it is you're able to, you're able to maintain your daily routines, daily habits. That's the first thing. Like, you're able to go to the office, work properly. Your family is not complaining about your drinking problem. If you have a problem, don't fight with them. If you doubt, you are stressed, because our doubt comes when things really happen. And when these situations happen, do not self-diagnose, do not self-medicate. Just go talk to a clinician. Talk to someone who knows about it. Another thing is, take advices from friends, family members on everything except for your mental health condition. You can talk to them, but taking advice may not be right because they are also not equipped enough to give the right advice. So for your mental health, you should take control about that. Go consult.
Sourabh, thank you so much. As I told you before as well, during the shoot, so many things popped into my head while talking to you as well. Revelations that I didn't even think of before. It was an absolute delight, an absolute honor to talk to you. How was the podcast? How was the chat for you?
My pleasure. This was phenomenal. Great questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sourav. You all at United We Care, with the help of Stella and with the help of everyone else that you have formed, are doing some really, really path-breaking work. Keep doing the same amount of work, and we will see you at MLDS.
Great.
Yes. Guys, thank you so much. Do write in the comments below how this podcast was for you. I can personally say that this was one of the most eye-opening ones for me, not just when it talks about AI, but when it talks about mental health in so many issues that we didn't even think of before. The case of so many cardiac arrests happening in young India currently. So yes, tell us in the comments, how did you like this podcast? And of course, do not forget to follow The Hot Seat by AIM Media House for more such content just like this. This is me, your friend Korak Roy. I will see you in the next one.